I said, put the bunny back in the box.
Today we'll be doing Delivery, which was an easy Linux machine from Hackthebox. Delivery was a fun and unusual machine in that gaining a foothold did not really involve any exploit as we typically think of it per se, but rather we get on the box due to a misconfiguration. Even more unusual is that this misconfiguration results from two separate configurations that by their own don't really pose any problem. However, in conjunction they align in such a manner as to present us with the opportunity to get onto the box. And once on the box, we'll use some information we gleaned on their Mattermost server to crack root's password hash and escalate our privilege. So let's get to it.
Napoleon, like anyone can even know that.
First thing, I'll run nmap against all ports. So in this case, we see port 22 SSH, port 80 HTTP, and an unusual port 8065. So now that we know our ports, let's rerun our nmap, but instead of scanning all ports, we'll scan 2280 and 8065, since we know those are the only open ports. In addition, we can tack on to enumerate for standard versions, as well as run standard scripts.
A few minutes later.
And once again, we can see port 22 SSH. We can see that the web server is Nginx. And again, we get a lot of data for the unusual port 8065, but nothing in the output suggests what the port might be. Let's head over to the website. And on the website, we can see a short message, as well as a button to take us to a contact us page. So let's go check that out. So here are a few interesting things. First off, we can see there's a help desk, which we can use to contact them. And we can see in the lower left-hand corner that there is a URL helpdesk.delivery.htb. Further, we can see there is a Mattermost server, and hovering over it reveals that it is port 8065. Finally, if we just read the message, for unregistered users, please use our help desk to get in touch with our team. Once you have an @delivery.htb email address, you'll be able to have access to our Mattermost server. So let's go over to the Helpdesk website, but before we do that, let's add both that as well as delivery.htb to our host file so that we're able to access both the Helpdesk and Mattermost servers. Let's go over to the Helpdesk page, and we can see on the top right, there's a blue button called Open a New Ticket. This immediately seems of interest due to the message we received on the Contact Us page. And we can fill in the form with any information. And once we submit the ticket, we get an interesting message. Here we can see both a ticket ID number as well as an email we can use to add more information to our ticket. Now that we have an email address with the @delivery.htb domain, let's head over to the Mattermost server to see if we can abuse this. And we can see we're immediately presented with a login form and an option to create an account. So let's do that. We can see it's asking for an email address and mentions that it has to be a valid email. So we can assume this means we need the delivery.htb email. So let's choose a username as well as a password. And once we submit that, we can see that it asks us to verify. So to see if we're able to access messages sent to that email, let's head back to the Helpdesk website. This time, let's head over to check ticket status. And now we'll fill in the original email we signed up with, as well as enter the ticket number. And we can see that once we're logged in, here indeed we see the email from the Mattermost registration. The link got a little bit messed up in output. Let's just copy and paste it. And we can see that our email is verified, so let's re-enter our password to go into the Mattermost server. We can see that we're allowed to join the internals team. And on the Mattermost server, there is a single channel and 5 messages. There are immediately 2 important pieces of information that jump out at us. We can see what looks like a username and password, mail deliverer, and you've got mail. Further, we also get a message from root regarding password usage. And it seems to imply that this company has a habit of reusing variants of the word please subscribe for their passwords. Great, so seeing that we have a full set of credentials, let's immediately see if we can SSH into the server with those credentials. And we can see that we were able to log in. Let's see if we're able to get the user flag. And we're immediately able to get the user flag.
Nice.
And now that we have a foothold on the box, the next step is to try and escalate our privilege. Before we run linps or do anything else, let's immediately use what we already know about this server to explore it and see if there's anything interesting we can find. We know that this machine hosts a Mattermost server, so let's see if we can find the Mattermost folder and if there is perhaps any interesting information we can find in there. And we can see 2 results. Let's head over to the first one and let's explore it. We can see a handful of folders and files. What jumps out immediately is config. And here we see 3 files, and immediately what is interesting to us is config.json. So oftentimes in these kind of files we could find credentials, but instead of simply catting out the entire contents to the terminal, let's look for something that might signify credentials such as user. And we can immediately see a set of credentials, user, and crack the admin pw. Additionally, we can see the 3306 port, which is the port for MySQL. So in this case, let's see if we can connect to MySQL using these credentials. And we can see that we're able to log in. Let's have a look at all the databases. And of interest to us is Mattermost. Let's have a look at all the tables in this database. And we can see there are 46 tables in total, but immediately the one that stands out to us is users. Let's have a look at all the columns available in the table. And we can see that there are 25 columns in total, and the ones that immediately stand out to us are username and password. And we can see 8 different sets of credentials, among them root and a hashed password for root. So let's lift the hashed password and see if we can crack it on our own system. So at this point in time we have 3 things. We have a username, root, we have a password hash for root, and we have some idea that the password for that hash is a variation of the words please subscribe with an exclamation mark. So let's make use of a feature in Hashcat where we can give it a certain word and ask it to test different variations in order to crack it. Now let's put both the password as well as the hash in 2 separate files. And just take note of the format here. We'll include both the username and the password separated by a colon. And now there's 2 things left to do before we can actually run our Hashcat command. First, we'll need to figure out the hash type. One way I like doing it is simply looking it up on the Hashcat examples website. And here on the Hashcat website, we'll open the search function and we'll use the first 3 letters of the hash we have, which is $2A. And we can immediately see that it's 3200 bcrypt blowfish. And now just one final thing is that we need to decide on a Hashcat rule. You can find all the Hashcat rules in this folder. Here we can see a number of rules. We might potentially have to work through a few ones. However, I like to start with base 64. So let's do that. And so now finally we can run our Hashcat command. We'll specify 3200 for the hash type, and we'll provide it with the name of the files that contain both the hash as well as the password. Finally, we'll specify our rules list.
A few minutes later.
And we can see that Hashcat was able to crack the password, which is please subscribe exclamation mark 21. Now that we have this password, let's head back over to the target machine and see if we can switch user to root. And we can see that we have root. That's it, friends. If you enjoyed my walkthrough, please consider getting a foothold on the like button or perhaps even cracking the subscribe hash. Until next time.
Peace out.